training ground woke slowly under pale morning light, metal gates humming as they opened, sand still cool beneath boots and paws. The instructors moved with practiced confidence, expecting another controlled demonstration, another predictable day that would blur into the rest, but she noticed the quiet tension that others ignored. The way the air felt heavier, the way the animals watched longer. Before settling, she walked with ease, not rushing, not hesitating, her presence calm and familiar. To this space the audience gathered along the boundaries, students, officials, observers, all waiting to be impressed. They expected sharp commands, clean responses, and visible authority. They believed control came from volume, posture, and rules written into manuals. She stood apart from the noise, hands relaxed, breathing even, eyes scanning the field as if greeting an old friend rather than entering a performance. The predator had not appeared yet, but its presence was already felt. Handlers checked equipment twice, instructors reviewed signals with clipped focus, confidence edged with caution. The animal they would present was powerful, intelligent, and known for intensity, a partner, not a tool. Though many still treated it like one she had trained alongside it for years, learning its rhythms, its moods, and the subtle shifts that warned of stress or confusion. As the sun climbed higher, she felt the moment approaching, not danger exactly, but significance, the kind that tightens the chest and sharpens awareness. The predator would test the space, as it always did, reading every movement, every intention, deciding who deserved trust and who did not. She remembered the long mornings alone on the field, building connection without force, the slow progress earned through patience, silence, and consistency. There were no shortcuts, only time and respect given freely. She carried those hours within her, grounding her now as murmurs from the audience faded into background noise. When the gate finally opened and the predator stepped forward, the field seemed to shrink, its presence commanding attention, drawing every eye. She did not look away. She smiled softly, not as a challenge, but as recognition, the kind shared between partners who had faced uncertainty together. In that moment, before anything went wrong, before the snarl, before the stillness, she already understood what the others did not. This was not about control or spectacle, it was about trust, meeting instinct and seeing which would speak louder. The predator moved with deliberate grace, every step measured, every sense awake, muscles rippling beneath its coat as it surveyed the field. It did not rush, it never did. It preferred to understand first, to read the environment, and the people who dared to stand within it. The audience felt the weight of its attention, though few understood why. Their excitement dimmed into nervous silence. Handlers gave quiet signals, practiced and precise, trusting the training to hold the line. The predator responded, but not blindly. Its eyes flicked from instructor to equipment to the unfamiliar faces along the boundary, cataloging changes, storing information. This was not aggression, this was intelligence, sharpened by experience. She watched closely, recognizing the subtle signs, the lift of the head, the slowing of breath, the way the predator tested the ground with its paws. It sensed the layered tension. The expectations pressed onto it like invisible hands. Too many eyes, too many demands, too little patience. The instructor spoke in low, confident tones, projecting authority but missing the conversation unfolding without sound. The predator was not resisting, it was questioning. It wanted clarity, honesty, consistency, qualities that could not be forced through commands. A sudden movement from the crowd broke the rhythm, a body shifting, a nervous step, a breath caught too sharply. The predator paused, ears forward, attention narrowing. The handlers adjusted, unaware that the balance had shifted by a fraction, but fractions mattered in moments like this. She felt it immediately, the tightening thread between instinct and training. She did not intervene. She knew this stage was necessary. Understanding could not exist without testing. The predator needed to decide who in this space was steady and who was not. The air thickened, anticipation rising like static. The audience leaned forward, sensing the edge. Without naming it, instructors exchanged quick glances, reassessing calculations already slipping through it all. The predator kept her in its peripheral vision, not staring but aware, remembering past days. Long sessions shared in quiet fields where nothing was demanded and everything was earned. Trust, built not through dominance but through presence. The demonstration continued, but beneath the surface something deeper was unfolding, a silent evaluation that would soon demand an answer from everyone standing on that ground. The mistake was small, so small that most people missed it entirely. A signal given half a second too late. A handler shifting weight without awareness, a ripple of uncertainty moving through the line. The predator felt it instantly, instinct rising to the surface, where training could not fully contain it. The snarl came low and sudden, vibrating through the air like a warning bell. Muscles locked, teeth flashed, not in attack but in declaration. This space was no longer clear. This moment, no longer predictable. Time seemed to stall. The instructors froze, caught between protocol and instinct. Every rule they had memorized offered no guidance for this exact second. Hands hovered, voices failed, and the crowd went silent, fear pressing in from every side. The predator stood its ground, breath heavy, eyes sharp, scanning for truth, for steadiness, for something real to respond to. It did not lunge, it did not advance, it waited, demanding an answer. She felt the shift like a current through her body, but she did not tense, she did not step back. She stayed where she was, feet rooted, breath slow, her expression unchanged. The calm she carried was not forced, it was practiced, earned, through countless moments like this when fear offered no solutions. The instructors glanced toward her, unsure, unwilling to speak. The hierarchy they relied on had cracked, and in that crack uncertainty poured freely. The predator noticed their hesitation, and attention sharpened. She met the predator's gaze fully now, not challenging, not pleading, simply present. Her smile, faint but genuine, a signal of recognition, not dominance. A reminder of shared understanding. The world narrowed to that exchange, the audience forgotten the rules. Irrelevant, there was only instinct meeting intention. Testing which would hold. The snarl lingered for a breath longer, then another. The predator weighing the moment, deciding whether to follow the chaos of human fear, or the quiet certainty she offered. Everything balanced on that choice, and everyone standing there felt it, even if they could not name it. She shifted her weight, slowly, a movement so small it barely registered to the watching crowd, but the predator noticed immediately. Her body spoke before her mind did. Grounding itself open and unthreatening, she kept her hands visible, relaxed at her sides, breathing steady as if nothing extraordinary was happening. The instructors remained frozen, trapped by their own expectations, waiting for authority to speak louder than instinct, but no command came. The silence stretched, thin and fragile. She smiled, not wide, not careless, but warm, a familiar expression. The kind the predator had seen after difficult sessions, after mistakes, after moments when trust had been tested and rebuilt. It recognized that look as safety. The predator took a single step forward, then stopped, reassessing the space again. The tension did not disappear, but it shifted, no longer sharp enough to cut, more like a held breath waiting to be released. She did not rush the moment. She understood that urgency would fracture what little balance remained. Instead, she allowed time to work, letting the predator feel the absence of threat, the absence of pressure. Around them the audience struggled to stay still, unaware that every flinch, every whisper could tip the scale. The instructors felt exposed, their certainty stripped away as they watched control emerge from somewhere they did not command. The predator lowered its head slightly, not submission but consideration. The snarl faded into a quiet rumble. Then nothing at all. Muscles softened, though alertness remained. Trust did not erase instinct, it guided it. She held her position, eyes gentle, focused only on the predator. The connection between them grew clearer, stronger than any rulebook, stronger than fear. Only when the moment fully settled did she move again. One careful step closer, acknowledging the choice the predator had made, choosing calm over chaos, understanding over reaction. The field exhaled as one, though few realized they had been holding their breath. The danger passed, not through force but through connection. In that silence, the lesson revealed itself. Control was not taken, it was given, and only to those who knew how to receive it. The predator turned fully toward her, now attention focused and steady. The space between them, no longer charged with tension, but filled with recognition. It stepped closer, matching her calm, mirroring her pace, a quiet agreement passing without sound. She knelt slowly, not lowering herself in submission but in trust, offering presence rather than command. The predator paused, then settled, breathing even, eyes soft yet aware. The instructors watched in stunned silence, realizing this connection had been built long before this moment, through patience, repetition and respect, not authority. The audience felt the shift, confusion giving way to awe as danger transformed into harmony. Before their eyes she rested her hand lightly against the predator's chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath, reminding both of them that control born from fear never lasts, but trust when earned holds firm, even under pressure. The instructors exchanged glances, their previous confidence shaken, their carefully constructed authority suddenly seeming brittle and inadequate. They had relied on protocol, on manuals, on strict commands, yet none of it could reach the predator. Like the presence she offered, she had learned over countless mornings that dominance could only push so far, but connection reached deeper, farther unseen. She stood slowly, letting the predator adjust its stance. Alongside her, every movement, deliberate, calm, measured yet natural, as if the world had not shifted at all, but she knew it had. The energy between them was palpable. A silent current threading through the field, guiding the predator without coercion, without threat. The handlers tried to speak low reassurances, but their voices sounded hollow in the charged quiet. The predator had already decided who held weight in this space, who was steady enough to follow instinct, and who wavered under expectation. It was not fear or submission that drove its choice, but recognition, understanding, the one who moved with certainty through patience and experience. She took a slow step forward, and the predator followed without hesitation, responding to rhythm, not orders. The instructors tried again, issuing commands, sharp-clipped signals, but they fell flat. The predator ignored them, not out of disobedience, but because it had already committed to a different authority. The kind born not from loudness or strictness, but from empathy, consistency, and trust. Every person on the field felt the lesson pressing into them, whether they realized it or not. The narrative they had rehearsed for years of control, through dominance, crumbled in front of their eyes, replaced by a truth that demanded acknowledgement. Leadership was not about fear, it was about presence, it was about clarity and connection. It was about moving with confidence that inspired others to respond, not out of obligation, but because they wanted to, because they knew it was safe. She smiled again, soft and certain, her eyes never leaving the predator. As the gap between them closed completely, the audience held its breath, understanding only partially, yet enough to recognize something extraordinary unfolding on a field that had seemed ordinary. The predator leaned slightly into her movement, trusting the guidance offered without hesitation. The instructors felt the weight of their assumptions lift slowly, replaced by wonder and a dawning realization that everything they thought they knew about control was incomplete until they had witnessed this quiet command, this invisible force, stronger than any shouted word. The demonstration resumed, but nothing felt the same. The predator moved alongside her, its pace fluid, responsive, each motion in harmony with hers, as if they shared a single understanding. The instructors tried to regain footing, issuing commands, but the animal ignored them, its attention fixed entirely on her, trusting her judgment above all else. The audience leaned forward, some whispering, some frozen in awe, none able to look away. The field had transformed from a place of expected control into a living lesson in presence, patience, and unspoken authority. The predator, no longer a tool now, a partner responding to intent and energy rather than force. She guided it through the exercises, her movements, precise yet effortless, every gesture a conversation, every glance an agreement. The predator mirrored her timing, anticipating without hesitation, its strength no longer threatening but cooperative, creating a rhythm that everyone watching felt, even if they could not name it. The instructors felt a shift deep inside, realizing that control was not loud or rigid, it was quiet, patient, thoughtful. It came from understanding the mind and heart of those you sought to lead, rather than forcing them into submission. Even the audience sensed it, a lesson greater than the drill, greater than the spectacle. Leadership could be soft and still be undeniable. Trust could be earned quietly, and courage could be shown in presence, not in confrontation. By the time the final exercise ended, the predator sat obedient yet free beside her, watching the crowd with alert calm, its loyalty given, not because of fear but because of recognition and trust. The instructors lowered their hands slowly, their pride tempered with humility, realizing the truth of the connection they had just witnessed was stronger than any command they could have shouted. Later, the crowd gathered around, murmurs spreading like wildfire, questions forming on every lip, eyes wide with curiosity and awe. They wanted to know how she had remained calm, how she had earned the predator's trust, how she had turned fear into harmony. Without a single raised voice, she answered quietly, each word deliberate, measured, not to impress but to illuminate. She spoke of patience, of showing up day after day, of listening more than speaking, of learning the rhythms of the animal and respecting them, not bending them to will. She described long mornings in empty fields where nothing was demanded, everything was earned, trust built slowly, step by step, breath by breath. The instructors listened in silence, some skeptical, some contemplative, some beginning to understand that authority without empathy was hollow, that control could never substitute for understanding. The predator had simply reflected what it felt in her presence: calm, confidence, consistency, and respect. Students whispered among themselves, taking notes with furrowed brows. Scribbling more than drills, they were learning about leadership, about responsibility, about the quiet power of being steady under pressure, about the weight of presence. She smiled, again faintly turning toward the predator, a small gesture of acknowledgement and gratitude for the choice it had made. The animal pressed close, matching her energy. Every muscle relaxed, yet ready, aware that trust was fragile and could be broken, but could also guide beyond fear. The story of that moment began to spread through the program and beyond, not for the snarl, not for the tension, but for the revelation that connection could command where commands could not, that leadership did not always shout, and that real power could be gentle, unassuming, and undeniable, all at once. The field emptied slowly, but the memory of what had happened lingered in the minds of everyone who had witnessed it. The predator and she walked back together, side by side, each step deliberate, measured, yet natural, as if they were two halves of a single understanding moving in perfect rhythm. The instructors remained behind, their faces thoughtful, some humbled, some still struggling to reconcile what they had seen with everything they had been taught. They realized that knowledge without empathy was incomplete, authority without presence was hollow, and control without trust was fragile. The audience dispersed, carrying pieces of the lesson with them, whispers spreading to hallways, offices, and other training grounds. The story transformed into a quiet legend, not about danger, not about fear, but about the invisible bonds that can guide the strongest creatures without force. She knelt once more to check the predator, the familial connection flowing easily between them, a shared history of patience and respect reflected in every movement, in every gaze. She understood the responsibility of that trust. It could not be taken, only honored and maintained. The predator responded instantly to her presence, calm, alert, and attentive. It had chosen her not out of obligation, but because it recognized steadiness and understanding. And in that choice lay the greatest lesson of all, that power responds to clarity and kindness, and that fear is no teacher. By the time the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the field, the demonstration had ended, but the story had only begun. It would be retold, not for the roar or the snarl, but for the quiet confidence and subtle leadership that moved hearts and instincts alike, proving that real authority does not demand, it inspires, and that trust once earned can guide even the most dangerous of creatures.